Yes, folks, hello. Welcome once again to Monetary Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified series, Professor Rottclaw and Deinonychus? The dinosaur. Anyway, so stick around, folks. I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this set. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you can make a good, solid purchase decision. Going to kick things off by jumping back in time and taking a look at the packaging the day it arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll get into the figures themselves, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability on the pair of them, run through the accessories and then weigh up whether that's added value. Pop them next to a couple of other G.I. Joe Classified series figures as well to see how they scale and display. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of thorough information to know whether this is a set you want to crack your wallet or purse open for. So let's get into it and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, taking a look at the box on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Here we go. Okay then, folks, well, here is Professor Rottclaw and the Deinonychus in packaging. Here you can see nothing particularly new. It's been the same sort of packaging motif on G.I. Joe Classified for a little while now. So you've got the G.I. Joe Classified series logo at the bottom, the carbon fiber kind of design in the background, Cobra logo for a Cobra character, then of course the big window at the front showing off the character and his creature companion. So you can see all the goodies included, name of the character across the top. Nothing new. Then on the back there, we can see that it's 196 in the line, got the digital render of the character and the dinosaur in action. A couple of breakaway windows showing off a few key features. Legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. The character's name once again. And then, of course, the file card information. Let's learn a bit more about Professor Rottclaw together, shall we? And here we go. Of course, naturally, Professor Rottclaw is a professor, and therefore we've got a couple of, like science things going on there, like squiggly genetic thing and swooshy doopsy atomic-y thing. Of course, Professor Rottclaw, being a professor, knows a lot more about that than I. Then a big pile of bullets, which makes no sense at all for a guy who carries a whip and, corrals genetically modified dinosaur attack creatures. So you tell me. A little bitty paw print, because, creature companion. Then we've got the artwork up the side. Not too bad, this one. Still can't shake the feeling that they're just churning out AI artwork over and over again, but the dinosaur looks suitably menacing, doesn't it? Not too bad. Interesting that they've chosen to go for the Dino Viper, or whatever they were calling it, rather than the Professor's head on there. Interesting. And then the other side is just all the repeat of everything that we've seen all over the place, along with the QR code to nowhere. And there we go then, folks. There's the Professor in packaging for the folks who buy mint in box, but I don't go mint in box. I'm going to crack this bad boy open, get good and hands-on with this pair, pose them up, take some photos, see what they look like next to a couple of the G.I. Joe Classified series characters, all that good stuff. Jot down some review thoughts and come back and share those review thoughts with you. So stick around. Future Chris is going to come back and do that in 3, 2, 1. Okay, folks, let's get into the review section of the vid now then, and let's start with the aesthetic, the visual experience of the figures, and we'll kick off with Professor Rottclaw here. And here, as always, is a full head-to-toe look to start with. Professor Rottclaw here clearly leaning into the barmier side of the G.I. Joe kind of vibe. He's a character invention that's new to G.I. Joe Classified, which is interesting nonetheless, but he's head-to-toe giving off wacky 80s... I don't know. The vibe check is just wacky 80s villain dude. Obviously, that head sculpt there, evocative of it's the Mad Max guy. His name escapes me now, although obviously he's not got his arse on show. But yeah, the Mad Max dude here, and then this whole kind of dino motif thing going throughout the head-to-toe design of the figure. Moving in a bit closer then, let's have a look at the finer details. Let's talk about the head sculpt to start with. Really interesting character design here, obviously unique to this character himself. So good facial features sculpted in there around the chins, the lips, the eyebrow stuff. I've got some moulding lines on mine. Can you see those across the bottom there, which I will tidy up. I've just left them on for the purposes of the review, but they are there, moulding lines across the bottom, but nice sculpted details in there, really kind of communicating his age, making him look a bit older, a bit more mature, a bit more grizzled. And then, of course, the faint face paint that's been put in, that kind of, I don't know, they're obviously trying to evoke a sort of tribal dinosaur man look. I don't know what that looks like. And then he's got his wild mohawk here. Although that mohawk is just sort of single molded white plastic. It is sculpted, but would probably benefit from a bit of a dry brush over the top of it, to be fair, or some sort of wash. So yeah, very interesting, very kind of unique look in the head sculpt. And then moving further down, you can see you've got this kind of feathery look collar piece across the back, moving down into this kind of armor plating here. You've got the shoulder pieces here, the pauldrons, with that kind of dino scale kind of look sculpted in the blue sections, with these red bits over the top with further padding and protection sculpted on them. Paint application across the pockets at the front here, the black pockets with lots of sculpted detailing on the plates, the pockets, etc., and the little decal with the cobra symbol on his chest plate here. The feathering around the neck's fine. It looks a bit plasticky, to be honest. Again, it's lacking a bit of depth, so the texture's sculpted in, but that black plasticky look is making it a bit toyetic, to be honest. Moving further down, let's go into the arms. So we've got this really kind of curious arm claw weapon piece here. Again, got that dinosaur scale design in on the gauntlet section here, and then it goes all the way around on the underside. You know, if you can see that very well, so I just brought it a bit closer there so you can see that sculpted detail in there. And then the claw has obviously got that sort of bone colour paint on it. Then we've got this sort of bracer piece here on him. I don't know, part of his dinosaur wrangling training, arm protection type thing. You train dinosaurs similar to the way you might train an aggressive dog. I'm not sure. Oh boy, I just realised I'm keeping him well in focus there, folks. Apologies for that. But then moving down here, again, we've got more of this blue armor plating piece with that same kind of dinosaur scale sculpting motif. The black sections with belts and buckles and pockets and whatnot. Some scratch marks and stuff across the front, which is nice to see. And then this kind of dinosaur hide that's being used for a kind of skirt piece draped down here with little spiky sections on. Again, looks a little bit plasticky, but it's fine. It's all right. The black, actually, sitting over the top of it is what really makes it look more toyetic. But I like nice little touches like the scratch marks, where he's perhaps been not getting on so well with the dinosaur training. You know, some marks on the front. But if I then swivel him round slowly there, you can see more of the back and the belt pattern across the back and the pistol holster here in that kind of consistent colour scheme, and then the plating, the armour plating across the back, consistent with the front. The legs are fine. We've seen these before. These are reuse from somebody else. I know one of you guys in the comments will jump in and fill in that gap for me, but it's got that texture detail in there, which I always appreciate with the G.I. Joe Classified. So you've got that kind of textural detail for the fabric, and then things like the bunching up and creases down here at the bottom of the trouser leg where it meets the boot, and then the boot itself. Again, we've seen this before, just a kind of standard regulation off-the-shelf boot. In black plastic. I'd actually say the legs are kind of where it falls down for me aesthetically. I don't know why. It obviously strikes quite an interesting peg presence from the top half there with all this armor plating and that kind of scaly dinosaur motif, and obviously the face is very eye-catching. Then you kind of get down into the legs and you're just a bit like, meh. I kind of imagined he might have more interesting footwear. You know, a more interesting boot. A guy who's obviously as fashion conscious about what's going on with things like feather collars and mohawks might have had something a bit more punk going on down there. But I get it. You know, he's wearing practical footwear and practical legwear for, lab-grown mutant dinosaur training. So it makes sense. I just kind of feel like the legs down here look a bit small and make him, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but maybe you're picking up what I'm putting down, folks. Let me know in the comments. And then, folks, here we go. We've got the Deinonychus, who I've taken to calling Keith. I think he looks like a Keith, got a Keith vibe to him, hasn't he? This is a really interesting sculpt for sure. Great look on the face. Look at that. Now just got the painted eye in there in that sort of blue, dead-eyed look. Got the sort of reptilian skin tones and the paint applications there with the red section just painted in under the neck, and obviously all this stuff in the mouth like the teeth and the tongue and the pink skinny bits put in there. Got this great kind of grey scale skin colour with the feathery section across the back. Did they have feathers? Didn't they? Who knows? But then this kind of scaly sculpt in here as you come down the hands, the scaly sculpts there as you come in across the legs. Got the Cobra logo branded on the back thigh there. Shiny black claws on the ends of the hands and the feet. I just open the mouth there as well, get a better view of the kind of paint applications and the sculpting going on in that nasty growly face. And then the sculpt continues in that kind of reptilian design all the way down the back of the tail, and then a kind of furry, fluffy bit at the end there to, I don't know, help with balance and whip away flies from their face or something. I'm not sure. I'll keep it in focus. There you go, Chris. So yeah, pretty solid visually, aesthetically in terms of a toy dinosaur situation. The only thing I will point out is that my bottom jaw is a bit rubbery and is a bit misshapen. I will heat it back into place, but I kept it that way just for the purposes of the review. Can you see it's slightly misaligned? But all good in the hood. Yeah, look at this. Look at all like the neck stuff in there. And oh yeah, very, very into the dino for sure. I mean, really, aesthetically, in terms of the visual experience, I'm not sure how I could give them anything but a thumbs up. They just have a very striking shelf presence, 80s dystopian Badlands kind of guy, scientist dude, and then his pet dino. I mean, come on, how could that not catch your eye? And however you feel about the whether there should be a mutant lab grown dinosaur in G.I. Joe or not, and how you feel about then having a weird dinosaur wrangler guy in the mix, putting that to one side for a sec, you can't deny very eye-catching, very eye-turning. On the shelf, you're like, oh, what's going on with this guy? He stands out. He looks different. He's not quite your standard Cobra fare. And I find that very interesting. Regulars around these parts know I like it when my G.I. Joe gets a little bit wackier. So there you go. Thumbs up on that. Right, okay, let's now get into the articulation, shall we? We'll start with the dinosaur this time. And before I do, folks, as always, I know some individuals aren't so fussed about the articulation sections of reviews, so I'll put timestamps in, use the chapters, jump ahead to the accessories and added value. However, if this is the first G.I. Joe classified series articulation review you've ever seen, or you're interested to know about the dinosaur in particular, then stick around. I'll walk you through it. And we'll get started here, shall we, with the Deinonychus. Up top here at the head, we've got a hinge on the jaw there, giving you the mouth motion. And then there's a ball joint in here underneath this kind of cover, this sort of skin section covering it up, allowing you your range of motion on the head point. And then you've also got a ball at the base of the neck, giving you all this range of motion here. The arms and the legs have got ball joints at the end here, so you can sort of flap it in and out a little bit, and then obviously swivel it on the point. Same again here, although the in and out's not so great on the rear legs. You then got pegs and hinges at the elbows and knees, so you can go, use the hinges like so, or swivel it in and out like so. Same again here at the back, hinge forward and back, and swivel on the peg. And then you've got the forward and back hinge on the front hands, and then you're on the swivel, the hinge and rocker on the back feet. And then down on the feet, on these inside toes here, on the back legs, you can see there's a little hinge articulation on the inside toes. And the tail it comes as a loose part actually that you pop on. It's a ball joint in there, so you can sort of give it some motion like so. No other points of articulation further down the tail, though. I will be honest, I could have done with something a bit more that would allow me to, bend it in, move it up more. I don't know, I could have done with a bit more range of motion further down the tail. Then on to Professor Rottclaw. It's a ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck. You might think because of this collar and the armor piece at the front here that he'd be a bit restricted, but he's actually not too bad. His down's fairly decent like so. His up actually, if you kind of move it on the ball at the end there, is not too bad. You can move it on the ball quite a bit as well. Tilt and swivel. You can't full 360 axis because of the collar, but it's there. Then down into the shoulder, got the butterfly joint under there. Little bit of shuffle back and forth. Then it's the peg and hinge at the shoulders. These shoulder pieces here, even though they've got a curved up bit, do get in the way of your T-shape quite a bit, but you can still move them forward and back like so. There is swivel at the bicep and tricep. Finless double elbow that'll get you up to there. This claw unit is over the top, sculpted, is a separate piece over the top, so you can swivel it around like so. Then it's pegged in at the wrist, so you can move it around at the wrist point. And then this one here's got an up and down hinge. And I got no idea what that one is. I think it's another up and down hinge, but I can't tell. Got the hinge and the ball joint in the torso and waist. Because of the way there's this little gap in the armor piece showing off a bit of his abs there. The crunch forward's not too bad, you see. Not too bad back either. And you can still make good use of the swivel in the ball joint. All hips, drop down joint in the groin, so you can give that a little bit of motion there. Come forward about this far. Obviously, the Russian ballet splits are restricted by this skirt piece over the top. Got the swivel at the top of the thigh. Then there's double knee that'll get you up to there. Ankle swivel underneath the trouser leg at the bottom there. and then the hinge and rocker for the feet. So all in all, yeah, both of them are pretty good movers. Thumbs up on the articulation. Even some of the bits that you might have thought would be a bit tricky, like his armor plating up top's not too bad. I suppose if you're trying to get really high arm movement on it, you'll struggle, but overall they're fine. The dinosaur's pretty good, actually, for some of the stuff I was trying to do. The only thing I came across was that when I was trying to get him sort of skittering along and in sort of lower, more aggressive kind of hunter running poses, finding the centre of balance to get him just right with the kind of tail sort of balancing it out can be a bit of a fiddle, but a lot of you folks are probably more patient and more gentle than I in those types of situations. So yeah, I think the articulation is pretty good on them both. They always do a good job on the creature companions. You know, I've never been disappointed articulation wise with the world of possibility they open up there. So yeah, overall I'm pretty impressed. So there you go. There's the articulation, folks. Let's now move on to the accessory selection, shall we? And first up on the accessory selection, we've got the head swap here, which transforms Professor Rottclaw into the Paleo Viper. This is a fun head sculpt here. Got this little kind of spiked point at the top here with like a headdress wrapped around. You can see all that kind of sculpted detail in for the texture of all that. But then like a kind of multi-point visor in a grey browny sort of colour, and then this red little kind of face mask piece across the front in a similar kind of panelling style and design to the blue armour sections across the body. So yeah, I think that's pretty fun. Not only have we got a whole new unique character, but you've got the opportunity to turn it into a unique Viper, a unique army builder. And while I'm not so sure how much army building folks will be doing at this price point for this set, I think that's a really cool idea, that even if you've bought two, you've got Professor Rottclaw and a capable Vipery-style assistant for wrangling the mutant dinosaurs they're creating in the lab with Mindbender there. So I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. I must admit, I'd probably lean more towards this head sculpt and the Paleo Viper design than I do the Professor Rottclaw head sculpt. For no other particular reason, I just think that looks a bit more badass and a bit cooler and more to my tastes. Not because I think there's anything particularly wrong criticism-wise with Rottclaws, it's just a personal taste kind of thing. Then the Professor stroke the Paleo Viper has a wrangling whip here. You can see it's got the long handle with the wrapped grip, and then the whip section coming out and tailing round in this little circular shape there with a little kind of whip end. No extra paint applications on the handle, sadly, just the single piece of blue molded plastic. It's fine. Obviously, it's not wired, so that's, your shape is just sort of restricted to that. You can manipulate it a little bit. I was doing some photos with him kind of throwing it over the back of his head in a about to whip kind of motion, but it's all right if you want to kind of do a dangling down the side type thing there. But obviously it's a great choice of additional piece of kit for someone who's wrangling and training mutant dinosaurs for sure. And then on the back of his belt here, he's got these kind of little kind of grippy loops, which I believe, I could be wrong, but I think are for storing the whip like so. I'm not sure if you're supposed to curl this round more to fit under that second loop here. I'm certainly not sure what else you might put in that loop as an alternative, but I've just been sort of clipping it on that larger clip side there and just sort of swinging it off to the left like that. Then Rottclaw's got himself a little kind of revolver pistol type thing. Definitely got a bit of a sort of alternative kind of sci-fi fancy revolver-y kind of look to it, but it is again a single piece of molded plastic in a similar sort of bluey black plastic to the design of the armor. But yeah, it's fine, just a little shooty pistol for you to use again, and there's a holster on the back of the belt which you can tuck it in like so. And then folks, your Deinonychus has got a little selection of stuff, so you can see we've got this kind of front head plate piece here, armor piece there, a metallic jaw piece to match up at the top, and then like a little wrangling handle here thing, which of course was the teaser piece that they showed us on a stream some time ago now. These are fine. This top piece just slides on and off like so. Same again with the lower jaw piece, slides on and off. You can see it's got just like a little a little bar there to hold it into place that slides over. The designs are fine. I like all this kind of spikes and little saw bit at the front there. Looks very aggressive. All the plating, the sort of teeth shapes and designs is nice to see, but it's very silver plasticky, which really stands out when you put it across the sort of the carefully sculpted and sort of deeper kind of leathery, scaly skin tones of the dinosaur there. Same again with this handle piece. I mean, it's got some textured detail in here, got some little spikes around the side there, got a little handle at the back for Rottclaw to be grabbing hold onto, although that's very rubbery at the back there. You really have to proper finesse that if you're trying to take a photo of him holding the dinosaur on the leash there like that. But again, just looks super plasticky, and the super plasticiness of it all stands out loads against like the feathery bits and the kind of the leathery, scaly skin. Leathery, scaly skin? That's two different things. You know what I mean. Of the dinosaur itself. So while I like the idea in principle, I think the implementation's a bit shaky. You know, just looks far too toyetic. I think, folks, I've got no other choice but to go thumbs down on the accessory selection with Rottclaw and the Deinonychus here. The whole dino accessories, while I like the concept, I think the implementation's not very good. I mean, look at that. You can see me having to constantly finesse that back into place. Looks really shitty and plastic. I think the whip and the gun are fine, but the figure itself needed something more. I'm not entirely sure what, but it needed something more. About the only thing I'm a particular fan of is the head swap. I like the Paleo Viper vibe of that alternative head swap. Probably like it a bit more than I like Rottclaw, to be fair. So, yeah, on the added value front, I think it's a little bit sparse, a bit thin on the ground, and I don't know, it's just not quite opening my world of possibility up enough for the type of photos I was trying to take and the sort of displays I wanted to do, particularly because I wasn't very keen on using this stuff that looks really plasticky. It's not hitting the mark for me on that front. So, yeah, it's a thumbs down on the accessory selection, I'm afraid, folks. But you might differ. And, of course, if you do, let me know your reasons why in the comments down below. Okay, right. Well, there they are then in terms of accessories. Let's have a look at the figure and the dinosaur next to a couple of other figures and creature companions. And to get that started off, I'm going to kick off here with the Desert Scorpion, which I'm kind of seeing next to the Paleo Viper as the comparison point, really. And this is where the accessories let you down, because when you look at the Desert Scorpion, soft goods cape, badass backpack, hand claws, knife, submachine guns, wrangling stick, as well as the creature companion, the Rottclaw set doesn't come out as favourably, you know. However, I do tend to think that they sort of belong to that same little kind of area. In fact, all the people I've got lined up for this comparison are what I would call departmentally working in the same corner of Cobra. And while we're comparing those two sets as a comparison, here's the Scorp 10 or 10 next to the Deinonychus. Here's Professor Rottclaw with Dr. Mindbender, obviously a pair of close collaborators in the kind of genetic mutant dinosaur creation game. Here's Rottclaw with Crystal Ball, just because I'm kind of getting my weirdos out, you know what I mean? And here, folks, is the Deinonychus next to Timber. Oop. Okay, folks, going to finish up with a 360 view of the two figures. We'll start with the Deinonychus here and then move on to Rottclaw in just a second. And while you're looking at these two running around, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And simply put, I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm a wee bit disappointed. Everything about this set appeals to me. I like when my G.I. Joe is weird and wacky and 80s and barmy and out there. I like when Classified tries something new and a bit different, and, you know, the creation of new characters and new concepts appeals to me. I like creature companion sets. I like weird, unique characters and weird, unique army builder characters. Everything about it spoke to me, but the implementation fell ever so slightly short. And I think it's down to the accessory selection, the world of possibility that the accessories opened up in terms of how I might explore this set and use it more in the way I displayed it, played with it, and took photographs with it. Just wasn't quite there, just didn't quite open up enough of a world for me. And I'm not too sure what it is I would have wanted. I mean, I saw the digital render, I saw the release information, I knew what the accessory selection was in here. But when I got down to taking some pictures the other day, I just found it a little boring because it was like, okay, Rottclaw with whip, Paleo Viper with whip, Deinonychus with helmet, Deinonychus without helmet, Deinonychus running, Deinonychus eating G.I. Joe, Rottclaw whipping Deinonychus, Rottclaw whipping G.I. Joe. I don't know, it just... Actually, that sounds like there was a lot of photo opportunities, but I don't know, maybe, hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. I just found him a little bit pedestrian to play with. Now, if more stuff comes along in this space and opens it up a bit more, then I suppose the value will expand then. But for the moment, with the accessory selection being a bit limited and not feeling like I got my value on the price quite as much, I think has tainted my experience. But don't let that put you off, Hasbro team, if you're watching, because I definitely want more concepts like this. I definitely want wackier and barmier shit like this. It's only the accessories that let me down. The Rottclaw figure, and particularly the Paleo Viper version of that, I love that Paleo Viper head, and the dinosaur itself are super, super fun. Super, super fun. I've just focused in on the negatives there. So there you go. Okay, folks, well, if you did find this useful, if it did help you make a purchase decision, then press all the YouTube buttons that helps a brother out. In the meantime, I hope you have yourselves a great day. I hope yourselves have a great week. And if you fancy coming back around for another video sometime soon, you're more than welcome. It'd be my pleasure to have you here. So with that all said, take it easy. I'll catch you next time.